Revenge films.
I'm Alex. I have a really good family. We're really close. My parents are always holding hands and kissing. I have two brothers, but we rarely fight. I can talk to them about anything. I was off to college next year. I needed my mom's signature on some paperwork, so I went to talk to her. Can you fill these out?
Sure, go grab my pen. It should be in my room.
So I went to her room, but I couldn't find her pen. Then I found this notebook. Inside it, I found a picture of my mom when she was young and pregnant. But the guy next to her wasn't my dad. Below the picture, she wrote, Alex, 8 months. I should probably forget what I just saw. I put the notebook back and kept looking for that pen. Finally, I found it and she filled out the paperwork for me. But I couldn't forget about that notebook. So one day when my mom went out, I went back to her room and opened the notebook. She wrote all kinds of stuff about this guy. Turns out he's my biological father. I didn't know what to do. So I decided to go see this man myself. I guess I needed closure. I had some money saved up for college, so I bought a train ticket and headed out to see this guy. It took me more than 2 hours to find his place. This place? The house was huge. There were multiple expensive-looking cars out front. I rang the doorbell.
Yes?
An old lady came out. Sorry to bother you, ma'am. Is this where Mr. Davis lives? I was so nervous, my heart was racing.
Yes. How can I help you?
The lady replied. Should I just come out and say it? What if they call security and take me away like in the movies? I hesitated for a while, but I made up my mind and decided to tell her. I'm his son. I came here to see him. Then the old lady came running outside. She was a maid there. She didn't believe me at first, but after I explained things to her, she made a few calls for me. She told me I could wait inside. Looks like this guy was loaded. I was sweating like crazy. I was so nervous. The lady brought me some snacks while I waited. I was so thirsty, so I chugged the drink she gave me. But that didn't help either. I was getting even more nervous now. Is this really happening? I can tell him that I'm his son, but then what? Who knows what happened between this guy and my mom? What if he left her years ago? Maybe he won't even care about me. I started having negative thoughts in my head. Should I really be here? I was so scared. Then the door opened up. A man walked in. He looked just like me. He just stood there in silence for a while. Then he sat down, saying, "The maid told me everything." Then he took out a picture from his pocket. It was a picture of me when I was a baby. I looked up and our eyes met. He looked so kind. I was touched. But then I realized that he really was my father. I started crying like a baby. I couldn't even speak. Sorry you had to go through all of this, son. I recognized you the moment I saw you. Thank you so much for coming to see me. He started explaining what happened. His family owned a large company. When he was in college, he met my mom, who was working at a bar. Mom lost her father when she was young. After high school, she worked day and night to provide for her family. It was pretty tough for her, but she always had a smile on her face. Dad said it was love at first sight. Soon she was pregnant with me. He was still in college at the time, plus he had to start thinking about the family business, so he didn't know what to do. But Mom was strong. She said to him,
Don't worry. I'll raise him myself.
with a big smile on her face. He was actually pretty relieved to hear that. They kind of drifted apart after that. But when she was 8 months pregnant, she called him up again and they met.
Let's at least take a picture.
So they went to the photo studio and took that picture. When Dad saw the picture, he realized he'd made a mistake. He knew he had to be there for her. I'm sorry. I was so irresponsible. I'll figure something out about the family business. Let's get married, he said. But Mom replied,
Thank you. But you and I, we're too different. We live in different worlds, and even if I marry you and have this child with you, Some people won't approve. I can't do that to my child. And I met someone, so I'm marrying him. I'm sorry. You should have told me that months ago. It's too late now.
Then she started crying. After I was born, she sent him a picture of me and wrote,
Looks just like you.
After that, she moved in with her parents and got a new phone, so my father had no way of contacting her. But he never forgot about us. He thought about looking for me, but it was his fault in the first place. He knew that my new father wouldn't appreciate that, so he kept his distance. And he was going abroad soon for work. He thought he'd never be able to see me again. That's when I showed up at his doorstep. Maybe God gave me one last chance to meet my biological father. After talking for hours, I'm so sorry, son. I don't deserve to be your father. But look at you. You're all grown up. Then he started crying. It was already dark outside. I had thousands of missed calls from my mother. I called Mom, but Mr. Davis took the phone from my hand. It's been a while. He didn't even tell her his name, but it sounded like Mom recognized his voice right away. He explained what happened to her. Do you think he can stay over tonight? I was surprised to hear that, but Mom said it was okay. So we went out to dinner and talked. We had a lot of catching up to do. He asked me so many questions about my life. He was still single, work was everything to him. That night I slept in the guest room. The next day, we had breakfast together and he drove me home. My parents were worried sick about me, but after a bit, they hugged me and apologized. I told them about my biological father. I told them everything we talked about. They just sat there and listened, nodding their head every now and then. Turns out that they were planning to tell me about him when I turned 20. They weren't trying to hide it from me or anything. I just found out about it a bit early by coincidence. Anyways, I'm almost done with college. As for Mr. Davis, he was leaving the country soon. We probably won't be able to see each other for a while, but we wanted to stay in touch, so we exchanged numbers before he left. The other day, he sent me a text saying, "Want to come work for me after college?" I said no, though. The offer was tempting. The company was huge and not everyone gets to work at a place like that, but I wanted to stand on my own feet. I wanted to show my parents and Mr. Davis that I was a grown man and that I could take care of myself. By the way, when I asked my parents if I could keep in touch with Mr. Davis, they said,
Of course, dear.
He kept his distance all these years for our sake. Go ahead. Let him into your life.
I was so happy to hear them say that. Finding out about Mr. Davis was nice. But I was always worried that this might upset my real parents. But after hearing my dad say that, I realized that I had two dads now. Pretty exciting, right? I was pretty surprised to find out about all of this, but I'm glad I did. I feel so happy right now.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.